Wonky Jonny. Johnny had a huge problem. He got brand new toys that he had wanted for a long time. A real basketball and a remote-controlled car. He didn't know what to play with first after breakfast. While brushing his teeth, he tried to figure out which one he liked best. It completely took over his thoughts. "Johnny, brush your teeth," his mom warned as she passed by the bathroom. He paid no attention to her. He was thinking about the new toy car and the batteries to put in the remote control. "Johnny, did you hear me?" said Mom. He wanted to answer, but his mouth was full of toothpaste. He opened his mouth, but the foam slid down his chin to the bathroom floor. He bent down to quickly wipe it off, but his tush accidentally hit the roll of toilet paper, which fell and rolled into the hallway. He tried to stop it, but his hands were full of foam from wiping his mouth. The paper too was full of foam, so it couldn't be used. And when he raised his head, ouch! He hit the sink. His head was ringing. He felt so bad about the mess he made, and now he even had a lump on his head. "I'm glad my mom doesn't see my lump or this mess." His older sister Ella came by. She wanted to go into the bathroom, but seeing the mess, she just shook her head and said, "Johnny, you're so sloppy. Hurry up." She turned and went back to her room. At breakfast, Johnny wasn't in a good mood. His sister's words hurt, as if she had never made a mess. "If I'm so sloppy," he thought stubbornly, "then I will act like it." By accident, he knocked down a slice of bread. It ended up on the floor. "Johnny, what's wrong with you this morning? You're so clumsy," said his mom. That's it. Even his mom told him he's clumsy. He made up his mind. Today, Johnny will act clumsy. But how to be clumsy all day? That is something he didn't know. He sat on his bed and started to brainstorm. A stray dirty sock under his desk caught his eye. Somehow it ended up behind the wastebasket. But now that turned out to be a good thing. He got an idea. He lay down on the floor, pulled his legs up to his chest, and hugged them tightly with his arms. For some reason, it seemed that he hasn't tangled himself up enough. His sock seemed more wrinkled, so he grabbed the heel of his right foot with his left hand. "Well, that's a good curled-up pose," he thought, pleased with his wrinkled position. It was a little hard to breathe, but it didn't bother him too much. After being scrunched like that for a while, he got bored. I could take a ride on the scooter, but how to get on it? That was the next challenge. He swayed in that curled-up position, left and right, back and forth, slowly swaying towards the scooter. He somehow managed to transfer himself onto the board without unrolling. It was really tough. He rested on his scooter for a while, but then got bored again. He looked crunched up around the room to see what he could do next, but nothing came to mind. And then he got another idea. I can change to a different position and still be clumsy. That was so smart. Recently, Mom, Dad, and Ella watched a documentary about animals on TV. He was not interested. It was not as exciting as his cartoons, so he rather played video games on his tablet. But the bed sleeping upside down, well, that was cool. And that is something he could do right now. That's a messy pose too. A strange pose actually, but it doesn't matter. But how to do that? Thinking about it, curled up on his scooter, it struck him just how to put his plan into action. What a great plan! He was thrilled with his new crazy idea and quickly jumped to his feet. "Oh, how nice it is to walk and stretch," he said to himself. He shared a room with his sister Ella. They had bunk beds. Ella slept on the top because she was older. Climbing onto her bunk, he hooked his legs around the bed frame and let his body hang like a bat in a cave. How fun! He thought for a moment as his hands dangled beside his head, touching the sheets on his bed. His shirt slid down his tummy and covered his head. He could barely breathe. He hung like that for a while, and then his head started spinning. "Oh man, I can't do this," he was frustrated. "I can't hang like this even for a few minutes. That pose is only for bats." What a shame. He was disappointed in his own abilities. People can't live upside down even for a short time. And that was such a brilliant idea. He carefully lowered himself onto his bed and lay down until his head stopped spinning. As he lay there, he came up with a new original scheme. He stood up, spread his legs, grabbed his ankles with his hands, and put his head between his knees. He felt dizzy again, but this time he didn't want to give up. This pose wasn't as dangerous as the last one. It only just hit him that he could have fallen and hurt himself. How fortunate his mom hadn't seen him. Then he heard his mom call, "Johnny, lunch is ready, come." He was so happy. His belly had been grumbling for a while, but he was too busy to think about food. But how to get downstairs to the kitchen? "I'll walk on all fours." That was another genius thought. As he slowly came down the stairs, with his bottom facing up, he didn't notice his mom watching in wonder. "Johnny, what are you doing?" She couldn't believe her eyes. He paused for a moment and looked at her through his spread legs with his big brown eyes. "Nothing special. I'm walking on all fours to the kitchen," he replied, like this way of walking is the most normal thing in the world. "Be careful not to fall," his mom replied. She did not try to stop him from his endeavor. It was clear to her that something strange was going on with Johnny today. He managed to get down to the kitchen. But how to sit down at the table now? And how to wash your hands? And how to eat spaghetti with sauce with your hands on your ankles and your head between your knees? And how not to anger his mom, who didn't object to him at all while he was walking backwards down the stairs? Ugh, how complicated this backwards life is, he said to himself with a heavy heart. He stood there in the middle of the kitchen in that bent position and looked at his mother's legs in front of him. He raised his head as high as he could and saw her angry expression and folded arms on her chest. "Johnny, that's enough," his mom was angry. "Straighten up, wash your hands, and sit at the table. Ella's just about to get home from school." He listened to his mom and reluctantly sat in his seat. She sat beside him and asked, "Johnny, what's wrong with you today?" He hesitated a bit, but then answered honestly, "I decided to be clumsy all day. This morning you told me I was clumsy, so I wanted to act that way." She was surprised by Johnny's answer. She didn't know she was part of the problem. "And what did you learn after spending morning like that, clumsy?" His mom asked him most sincerely. "I learned everything looks weird upside down. And it hurts when you don't walk upright." He felt defeated. "You know, Mom," Johnny continued, "I think my arms and legs are very useful tools. When I stand upright, I can do whatever I want, and everything is easy to me." Mom was surprised by his wise observations. "Mom, what does it really mean to be clumsy?" He was curious. "It only means that you're a very imaginative boy," Mom replied proudly, kissing his tousled brown hair. "And that you should be careful not to hurt yourself," she added, touching the tip of his nose. Johnny looked at his mom with a beaming face and said, "I'm your Wonky Jonny," and then took a bite of his favorite meatball spaghetti.